From the News Center area of downtown Detroit, it's the Mitch Albom Show with Mitch Albom and Ken Brown. Today's broadcast is brought to you by your Southeast Michigan Lincoln dealers and by our charity partner, Cooper Standard Automotive. Now, here's Mitch.
Hi, we welcome you back here on 760 WJR.
We forgot to thank Paul for shooting in for you the other day.
Yeah, Paul handled the
awake
show
the whole
on
2 hours
Friday.
Yeah.
And, stayed awake because he's usually in bed by then,
Right.
being the morning show host.
Mm-hmm.
Also want to remind people, October 27th, which is now only 12 days away. It's a week from Saturday. Our big 100 houses project. I wrote about this yesterday.
I saw it.
Yeah, it's 150 houses. We're on steroids now. The good kind. For the good. We're going to board up 150 houses in the vicinity of Cody High School. Try to make the streets safer there for the kids who have to walk to school back and forth. And it's a wonderful project. We did one of these a couple months ago. It was, we came up with the idea and we pulled it off. It was great. And now we're doing it even bigger and better. We're looking to get about 500-600 volunteers. So please, if you can join us on October 27th, Saturday, 9:30 a.m. around the Cody High School area. You can either call by phone to sign up, 866-992-GIVE, 866-992-GIVE, or you can go to drmm.org to sign up. DRMM, that's Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries. They're handling the sign-ups. Or you can just go to mitchalbom.com if you forget everything, and we'll walk you through the whole process there. I'd love to have you. It's just for a few hours, but you'll have a great time. There'll be T-shirts and Starbucks and breakfast and a little lunch, and you'll be amazed at the camaraderie in the community with the neighborhood people who are so grateful to have these eyesores and these dangerous abandoned homes where drug dealers and prostitutes and people who would harm children hang out, and make this walk to school safer for the kids who have to walk back and forth. So join us on October 27th, a week from this Saturday. Sign up now.
Do it.
Okay, Nancy Skinner has worn many hats. One of them was producing this radio show for a stretch of time. She's on radio, on TV. You've seen her many different places. But once upon a time, back in her life in Illinois, she debated Barack Obama in an Illinois senatorial primary a bunch of times. This was about 8 years ago. And so seeing as he's debating Mitt Romney, this is as close as we can find to someone who's actually debated Barack Obama. Hi, Nancy.
Hey, Mitch. Hey, Kenny.
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Mitch, just like I said, Cody, that's really great you're doing that. Cody, my sister, who's on the Supreme Court ballot, Judge Connie Kelly, started a mentoring program there several years ago at Cody, and I'm down there with her on Fridays. It's a terrible neighborhood, and she works with teenage girls, so God bless you for doing that.
Well, I hope it will be a little less terrible after we're done with it,
Yep.
at least 150 houses worth. So when you debated Barack Obama, and granted, he wasn't running for president. He was running for what, state senate?
U.S. Senate.
U.S.
He was running
Senate.
for the U.S. Senate.
Okay.
He was a state senator.
Okay, he was
and
a state
I had been
senator.
a radio host on WLS in Chicago, one of your sister stations, for 8 years.
Right. And so you squared off against him, or were there other people on the panel as well?
Yeah, there were 7 people in the Democratic side, and there were 7 Republicans, actually.
Wow.
That was the infamous race where Jack Ryan got outed by his celebrity wife for wanting to have sex in public, and the one millionaire on our side spent $32 million. It was quite the tawdry and interesting experience.
But he won.
Yes, he's POTUS.
Yeah,
I lost to POTUS.
Yeah, he
and I'm
obviously.
back in Detroit.
Yeah. It's not so
Yeah.
bad, though. You know, you say I lost to the guy who became president.
But if you're going to lose, lose big,
Yeah.
right? I lost to POTUS. How many people can say that, really?
So how many? Well, maybe Mitt Romney in a couple of weeks. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah. So what was what was his technique back then, and how was he when you were preparing to debate against him back then?
Well, it's funny because he's really evolved. I've been asked this question a lot. He is and was, but less so, very professorial. So one time we had dinner, actually, after a debate. We became friendly, and because I had gone through Second City, so I was impersonating the other people in our race, and he's like, "Oh, that's good, Skinner. Do you do me?" And I said, "Of course I do." And so my invitation was, the fundamental and dynamic question, because he did have a terrible lisp with the word "ah." He used it as a crutch. And he goes, "Oh, that's very funny." So he shoots back at me and says, "Here's you, Skinner. All we need is courage and big, bold ideas." Yes. He's come a long way, but I did tweet on my Facebook page. I'm doing a lot of that before the debate. Hey, this is not his strong suit, debating. It really isn't. When he's speaking on the stump, giving a great oratorical speech, inspiring, he's good at that. This is a whole different ballgame for him for a lot of reasons.
That's unusual because he's intelligent, clearly. I don't think anybody would dispute that he's intelligent. And you would think if you're a decent communicator in one forum and you're intelligent, why wouldn't you be a good debater?
Because they're two different things. They really are. People actually feel debates rather than think them through. You know, unless you're a real political junkie, all these numbers that are being thrown back and forth in the True Squad and all that, when you're just tuning in, you're much more sort of feeling that person, and do you trust them, and how are they, you know, even though you could say Joe Biden, you know, crushed Paul Ryan on the facts, coming back and not letting him get away. He lost style points because some people felt like he was, you know, being obnoxious. They were feeling it, even if you knew that he was correcting the record, right? The people that didn't know that felt like it was going the other way. So I think what the president has to do now, I think everyone knows he did very poorly in the first debate, and Mitch seemed CEO-like and strong, and Obama, he pulled his punches. So I think this time around, it's a town hall, so that's a whole different format. I think he has to do three things. I think he has to now destroy the credibility, that I'd call it the faux credibility that Mitt Romney built up while being likable. Okay, that's not an easy challenge. Not easy. He's got to make the case for his last 4 years and what he's doing in his next 4 years, and he's got to have a very present a soaring picture of who he is versus Mitt Romney and what that means for our country. Are we the United States of America? Are we the separate states, each on our own? You know how that's going to go. It's going to be Mitt and the billionaires that got him in office. But I think the first part's the hardest part, where he has to, you know, do what he didn't do in the last debate. He really, and he could do this by just turning to him and asking him questions. For instance, the auto bailout. Mitt, you keep saying you would have restructured it and could have done it differently. Where was the capital to do that? Because we couldn't get it with Goldman Sachs. Bain Capital wasn't there. There was no capital. You keep saying it. Where was the capital? He won't be able to answer that. Will you sign a bill outlawing abortion if it comes to your desk because you said you would? If they passed it, would you? Romney's going to.
Well, hang on a second. We got to get to the traffic. But I want to ask you about the format of this particular debate. We'll continue our conversation here with Nancy. Here's the traffic.
WJR Right Now traffic.
A service of Family Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, and of Garmin. Hate traffic? Don't be a hater. Get a Garmin Nuvi with subscription-free traffic. It can help you to avoid traffic bottlenecks and construction delays, so you can keep moving and relax. Drive with Garmin, the most trusted name in GPS. Southbound 75, you're jammed up from Dix to Telegraph. Northbound 75 is a slow go, Holbrook to 7 Mile. Northbound Southfield, no better than 25, Ford Road to Joy. In the Ann Arbor area, southbound US 23, your top speed around 20, Plymouth Road to Washtenaw Avenue. And westbound 96, a very slow go from M5 696 to Novi Road. Welcome to the family. Family Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Furnaces, air conditioning, professional electrical, even reliable power generator installation. Family's got it all. Family's not just their name, it's the way they do business. Family Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I'm Kevin O'Neill, WJR Right Now Traffic.
Nancy Skinner joining us, radio TV personality who debated against President Obama multiple times in 2004 in a campaign for the Democratic senatorial primary in Illinois. You were talking about this posing questions. So this format allows the candidates to ask questions to one another?
Not technically, but none of these formats and the rules really matter. If you saw the last debate, Martha Raddatz was not supposed to call Paul Ryan Congressman Ryan, and she did every time.
Yeah, but I mean, if you unless it's allowed, point blank, here's how I think Mitt Romney gets around that. Barack Obama says, if we pass, if it comes to your desk, Mitt, I'm wondering, are you going to sign this abortion bill that you've said you were going to do, and blah, 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 finish my comments. And Governor Romney, says the moderator, well, first I want to start off on something that was said a little earlier. And boom, 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 and they're off. I mean, they never answer a direct question, ever. which I have to think is
Pivot.
a technique of debating because I've watched the ones I watch. Nobody ever answers the question that's actually asked to them by the moderator. So why are they going to ask the question that's asked to them by their opponent?
Well, here's how he gets around that. Then if that happens, then his plan B is to go to the audience and say, I would encourage you to ask Governor Romney if he'll sign that bill out allowing abortion. He can
but the
freely with
questions
the people
are
in the
already
audience.
the questions are already decided ahead of time, aren't they? They know who they're going to call.
These are questions from the audience. And, they're supposed to be covering a lot of foreign policy, but, how quickly are we going to go through that?
Right.
If they bring up Iran, again, how I would do that is say, okay, you want to talk about Iran, but I would ask why the governor said that he thought Russia was our greatest geopolitical threat, and now it's Iran. Which one is it first am I supposed to deal with? So there's so many ways that you can manipulate a format and get those questions answered because that's his first challenge is that Mitt Romney got away with saying a lot of things, and as we all know, different positions on these things, that 47% that comment about not caring about them, I think that there's a way to ask a question about that, the pre-existing health conditions, how he's going to pay for a 20% aboard tax cut, other than Big Bird, closing loopholes. I would have to go for the kill, Mitch. I'd have to say, do you mean shutting down the Cayman Islands and the Swiss bank accounts? Is that what you're talking about? He's got to do that.
Yeah, but remember,
kind of
he's got to be presidential. And if he starts dipping into some of this smart aleck stuff, he doesn't look presidential, and he has something to lose. He has something to lose.
He was a little too soft in the last one, but he can't be too hard in this one.
Right.
But I got a question. It's 20 days before the election. Everybody's talking about we got to get this independent or the voter doesn't know yet. If you don't know by now, what are you waiting for? I just can't see somebody now. They got to be leaning one way or another. There can't be that many people 4 years later, 2 election cycles, and 2 weeks before the election, 2.5 weeks, and nobody, I don't know.
Well, I agree with you, Kenny. I don't think it's that they're undecided so much as that they can be persuaded. They're wavering, and that's why I talked about the feeling approach to this whole thing. And we're looking at a handful of states here. We're looking at the swing states. That's why focusing on the auto issue, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, is really important. Who saved the auto industry? Mitt or did we? And that's like the key questions for the key swing states that maybe someone who just doesn't like Obama or felt uncomfortable or like something Mitt will say, especially in the auto states, would say, you know what? I wouldn't have a job, or my business probably would have gone under had the,
I don't know. I mean, I have to say, living here and going through that whole thing and being on the air throughout all of it, I think Bush gets as much credit as Obama does. So, and if Bush can align himself, even though he might have done a kicking and screaming, but if Romney aligns himself with Bush or tries to take the credit away or just says, well, Obama was just continuing something that was started by Bush, I don't know that that's such a winning point. I mean,
I don't think Romney's going to ever utter the word George Bush.
Well, so he doesn't have, but he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. That's the whole thing. These campaigns are done by commercials for super PACs and committees and the party and all the rest of it. These guys don't have to do that much individually.
But that bankrupt statement is going to come back to haunt him. Let him go bankrupt. That's the one he's going to
but if it hasn't haunted him, he said it years ago, and he's still running, and he got the nomination, and so who knows? What strikes me about Mitt Romney in this thing is now he has a baseline now. I thought before the first debate, one of the reasons he did as well as he did is because most people really did not know who he was or how he came across other than from commercials. They never really saw him in action. He's not been a visible guy other than out on the campaign trail, which nothing looks real out there, or in some of these commercials. And all of a sudden, it's like meet Mitt Romney, for an hour and a half, whereas everybody knew who Obama was. And so Obama was more like, wow, he's not on his game. With Romney, how would you know if he was on his game? That was the first game that you saw from him. So now I think he has something to lose because there's a baseline for him. And people say, he looked pretty much in charge and pretty relaxed. If he looks more of the same in this one, I think he gets a big gain. I think, what we saw before, that's really who he is. If he looks way different this time around, I think not only does he lose from this one, he loses from the last one in that, that wasn't really real. He looked that way. And this is the advantage and the disadvantage, Nancy, I think, of being a challenger versus being a guy who everyone has seen for the last 4 years as president. There's no surprises with Obama.
Well, that's why Obama has to really draw on contrast. And what I mean by contrast is, just these two starkly different visions for America, and go back to Romney's own words on these things. So for the people who are just tuning in and didn't see this, like, the magnet of misfortune that Romney has been with the trees of the right height, and I got a couple of caddies, and I like to fire people, and corporations are people. If you missed all that all along the way, then he's got to find a way to summarize essentially one thing. I care about every one of us as Americans, and that's the only way we're going to pull through this thing. This guy is going to go back to protecting his rich buddies, just like Bush did with huge tax breaks for the rich, and guess what? We're going to end up right back where we are. And he's got to defend his record. I mean, he has recovered every single job lost. Unemployment has ticked down. We had consumer confidence is at all-time high. Retail sales are up today. The Dow's at 13,000. He's got a lot to stick up for himself about how far he's come. And I think he needs to make that and then finish, as I said, with this very emotional appeal. I think people can feel the difference between a leader who cares and can inspire towards greatness as opposed to somebody who just wants to divide and make money.
Because you're starting to gush.
I know. Well, I like him.
Apparently,
I
you're not holding a grudge from debating him in 2004.
He paid for the
not at all.
So I can tell that you are in favor of him as president, and we generally don't do political commercials here, so I'm going to have to stop you because,
if I was his debate coach, as I was, one interesting thing, I prepped Governor Granholm to play Sarah Palin for the last election debate. So a lot of this, what you have to do behind the scenes, that was a whole different thing. Biden couldn't jump on her the way he jumps on Ryan. He couldn't do that. It wouldn't work. She was a female. So
well, there are laws against that kind of thing.
There are political laws
Nancy,
against that kind of thing.
we got to run. Thanks for coming on with us. It was fun talking with you. All right.
Always good. We'll see what happens tomorrow night.
Yes, we will. Nancy Skinner joining us there, who I don't know how we went from her debating Barack Obama to basically a commercial for Barack Obama.
Well, 5 hours before we got on, so take it even. Call it even today. All right.
No, I try to be very sensitive in this, especially now, to not putting people on or letting people talk for long periods of time who basically are espousing you should vote for this guy. Right. Because I would like this show to be, no offense, I mean, Nancy's got her take on it, and that's fine, but I would like this show to be like a dogma-free zone for 2 hours. Yeah, I like we'll present the issues and we'll let people talk, and obviously you can kind of read where they're coming from. If I say such and such from the GOP, you're probably gonna be pro-Republican. But in terms of dogma, meaning here's the point of view and here's who you should vote for, I just you get enough of that everywhere else in this country. Let this 2 hours be.
Well, make your man up, please. Like I said, you don't know by now.
Well, obviously,
you must be the person that goes to this traffic light and stops on the blinking light.
Obviously, Michelle Obama made her mind up. She voted already.
Oh, did she vote?
Yeah, she voted already. I didn't know you could do that this early.
Yeah,
who'd she vote for?
Well, she's not saying.
Ann Coulter would have said she voted for Romney.
Let's take a look at the traffic on 760.
760 WJR Right Now Traffic.
Brought to you by Talmer Bank and Trust in Southfield. The outbound lodge is bumper to bumper at Telegraph 696.